Now that we've done the modelling of the top section here and refined the detail slightly, I think we're at an appropriate stage to start to allocate these construction geometries onto their final modelling layers. So we're going to revisit something that we did at the very beginning of the project. So if we right click on our layer manager, you can see at the start of the job we set up the traffic light with the base, the main pole and the light. Now we need to put some sub-layers in, and during this lesson what we're going to do is transfer the elements that we've been building in the previous lessons onto these final modelling layers. So if you could just left click with your mouse on the base, and you will see at the top of the layer manager next to the new layer tab there's a new sub-layer tab. Click on that and type in the word feet. I tend to work in capitals. What we're trying to do is allocate these layers in a convenient way such that we can allocate the materials to these sub-layers rather than have a whole series of geometry where we're individually allocating materials to them. So the first layer we'll do is feet, then we'll use the new layer command under feet to allocate one under there. The next one will be chrome, press the layer again, next one will be gunmetal, and the final one will be hazard yellow. Next, let's allocate the colors to our modeling layers. So just for convenience sake, we'll allocate a yellow color to the hazard yellow, of course. The gunmetal color we're just going to allocate as a bright green for the time being so we can see it clearly on screen. The chrome color we'll do as red. So what I'm doing is I'm going down the square, I'm left clicking on the square, I'm then going to the color selector and then either selecting it off the set menu, or I'm going to fine tune the color by just simply dragging the mouse to a key location. Click OK. Lastly, the feet, we'll leave those as black. Okay, so we can first switch that and activate the hazard yellow color. And I'm just going to shift that off screen for a moment. Now any element that we want to be hazard yellow, we're now going to move on to that layer. So to begin with, we're just going to select the base ring, the supporting post. Now I'm just holding down the shift key, holding down the right mouse key in order to pan it, and then left clicking to grab the appropriate geometry. Next we're going to grab the supporting strut, the little top bracket, including, let's just check that it's there. There it is, just that little poly surface on the front there, the truncated cone that we made a couple of lessons ago. There we are. Now we basically, at least initially, have everything selected there that we want to move on to the hazard layer. Just move the layer manager back into shot here, then you right click on the layer that you have highlighted in blue, and then scroll down to change object layer, and automatically you can see on screen there, by way of reference, we now know, because of the color designation that we gave it, what elements are going to be on the hazard yellow layer. You'll notice we'll also need that leg that we made previously, plus the little foot that went with it. So we just simply repeat the procedure, float the mouse over the hazard layer that's highlighted with the blue line, and then scroll down to change object layer and confirm that the color allocation is correct. Next, the items that we want to be gunmetal in there will be the hinge mechanisms. So we can just go back into the design. So I'm just scrolling with the roll bar on the mouse, holding down just holding down the left clicking with the mouse to select the element. Now I'm holding down the shift key to add to that selection. So I'm going to the bottom, then I'm grabbing the next one in. We'll notice it's only grabbed the one side of that, so I've had to pivot around and grab the other side. It will be the same with this element as well. That's already grabbed. So we can see everything that we want to be gunmetal. So we activate the gunmetal layer. We right click and then change object layer, and be sure to check that the resultant color matches the expected designation. So we can see everything now that at the end of the day is going to be a gunmetal colour on our design. Now the foot. So we're just repeating the procedure. We're just going to scroll down, make sure just the foot of the design is going to be a matte rubber colour, so a dark black, charcoal grey sort of colour. So we're just going to shift that onto the foot layer now. That's the only thing I can see. Highlight the foot layer by left clicking on it on the layer manager, right click on the blue line and then change object layer, and then confirm that what you think you've done is actually demonstrated on screen. The last element that we want will be a little chrome shoe that the rubber foot sits on, and we will shift that to the chrome layer. So left click on chrome, make sure the blue line's there, then right click on change object layer, and we can now, by simple color coding, check what's occurred. Now a little bit more complicated is we want to have two materials on the mounting ring. The little adjustment mechanism that we made in the previous lesson, I think would look great if we did that in a gunmetal while we leave the outside area the hazard yellow. So we want this to end up as the green color. So to begin with, just as we did in the previous lesson, we're going to isolate our problem. So we're just going to select the top and bottom mounting rings. We're going to hide them, then dig underneath the hide command to swap. And the command that I want you to look at this time is halfway down the left-hand side command bar, and you simply explode. So you can see in this case, the elements that we had previously have now been separated into their component parts. So the pieces that we want to be the gunmetal color will be just in here, and we'll switch those to gunmetal. So you can see the ones that are changed. Now what we'll do is we'll change that view to wireframe. We're just going to zoom in. Now I'm grabbing with the mouse outside, and I'm grabbing everything within that hexagon, and now I'm switching that to gunmetal. Switch it back to shaded to see the effect. And if we look in there now, everything in that area is gunmetal. Now what we want to do is just briefly switch off the gunmetal layer. We select all of that, and rather than have it as individual isolated pieces of surface, we're going to join that all back together again. So we scroll with the mouse, and then we simply press the join command. So when I click on it this time, it's all back to the way it was before. Turn on the gunmetal element, and we do the same thing. So scroll across with the mouse from left to right, and then press the join command, and then when we grab that, it's all the one gunmetal color on the one piece of surface. We repeat the procedure now on the bottom. So step 1, explode. So scroll down the left-hand side to the explode command. We're now going to drag across with the mouse to grab that interior portion there. So this time we've managed to do it all in one piece, hopefully. We're going to float over the gunmetal element, right click, change object layer. You can see we've got it there. The only thing I'm not happy with in this particular case is that outer ring. I'd like to be back on the hazard yellow color. So we're reversing the procedure on that. So flicking down to hazard yellow, right clicking, change object layer. Now we are deselecting that outer section there. So we've got everything that's that gunmetal color. We're going to join it back together again. So we join it. We can hide that now, and then we scroll with the mouse across. So we just pan slightly, scroll from left to right to grab all of that surface, and then we press the join command again. And when we click back on it, you can see all of that geometry is joined back together again. And we can flick on the gunmetal layer. So you can see already how advantageous it is that now that we're shifting things onto the modeling layer, we can isolate various material finishes and work on specific elements progressively. Okay, our last element is just as we've done in the past, right click on the hide command just to see how that's sitting in the space. And we've now rationalized the design by moving those previous construction layers. I'm just going to turn off the construction layers so you can see everything's been shifted onto the modelling layers. They can be locked off shortly, but we've now isolated our problem nicely, and we're ready to allocate materials to the specific layers. In our next lesson, we'll do the last step and we'll array that leg design into its final location.